Today's guest is Tiffany Smith, founder and leader of the Tiffany Smith team, a top producing real estate team here in North Texas. We're going to talk about her journey to North Texas and then how she's built her brand over the years. Welcome to the show. You mentioned your 5-year anniversary coming at Compass.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to talk about is your story. So maybe that's a good place to jump in.
Yeah.
You are a real estate agent. I think of you as the queen of Prosper.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Big brand up there.
I love that.
And when I think of Prosper, I think of Tiffany.
Yeah.
And how did you get started? Did you grow up in Texas?
So yeah, originally from West Texas, from Abilene.
Okay.
My husband Justin and I are both from Abilene, and so we not high school sweethearts, but we didn't know each other in high school. And we, after we got married, lived in Houston for 12 years, and then relocated back to the DFW area.
Okay.
So how I came to Compass. I was at another well-known brand, and I was really struggling to create a luxury brand for myself. And so I felt like I was just continuously trying to kind of reinvent the wheel. And my husband said to me one day, he goes, I feel like maybe you're going to have to go to a different broker to get that vibe or that look that you're going for. And so I was like, oh gosh, I'm loyal to a fault. I don't.
This is a life problem.
Yeah,
it's a good
totally.
thing, but it can be a life problem too.
I mean, it's definitely pros and cons. So I was like, oh, that thought never crossed my mind. But I started looking around, and I was like, maybe you're right, because now I know that brand was a dinosaur, and that was never going to feel, youthful and exciting. And,
right.
And so anyway, I just started looking around, and I noticed that every time I saw something on social that I was like, oh, that looks good. What is that? Every single time it was Compass.
Ah.
So I was like, okay. And, Compass, I think, is coming up on their maybe 6th anniversary, or just had their 6th anniversary in Dallas.
Yeah.
So they were still also very new on the scene here, maybe right at a year, just under a year. And so essentially I just picked up the phone and called, and I was like, hey, look, here's the deal. I don't know if I'm a fit for you. I don't even know if you guys are servicing our area, because, the people in Dallas think that Prosper is Oklahoma. Seriously. I mean, you go into Dallas proper, 5 years ago or 7 years ago and say Prosper, and they're like, where? And I'm like, yeah.
Well, I remember, so I've lived in Dallas 10 years now, and I had a buddy who had moved here. We had both kind of moved here after grad school. And he was like, hey, do you want to do a trip with me and go look at houses in Prosper? It'll be a fun way to hang out. And I was like, Prosper?
You're like, is that an overnight trip?
Yeah, I was living in Uptown. And I was like, Prosper? Why would you live up there? You're a bachelor. That doesn't make any sense. I think these houses are really going to go up in value. I think it'd be a smart investment. He was right.
He was a smart friend.
I did say, dude, I don't think you should live here from a lifestyle perspective. You're single. This is way
There's
far
nothing
away.
out here. Yeah.
But they didn't have all the big developments. I think it was, it's not Cimarron.
Maybe La Cima or.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah. La Cima. Yeah.
Yeah. La Cima. Anyways, so I think that's where we were actually looking at houses.
Okay,
but yeah, this is wow, this is
Which
so
at the
far
time, I mean, back in the day, I was selling, 4,000, 4,500 square feet houses for in the 4s. Yeah. I mean,
$100 a square foot.
Yeah. It was just, I mean.
On a half an acre, I bet, too.
On a third of an acre. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I called Compass, and I was like, hey, I don't know if we're a fit, but I'm just really interested. Your marketing has gotten my attention, and let's talk. And so their immediate response was, we're not ready for you. We don't even have, I think they didn't even have Salina in their MLS yet, on, you know what I mean? On the platform. And they were like, we're really not equipped to serve you yet. And, but they were like, yeah, let's do it. And so I was like, all right. So I actually planted the very first Compass sign in Prosper.
Wow.
And it was so funny because I had a listing at the time that I was transitioning over from my old broker to Compass. And it was an older couple. And so we had the new sign installed. And he called me and he said, Tiffany, he said, these guys just came and put this sign in. And he goes, I have to ask you, do you think people are going to know that this is a for sale sign? And I was like, yeah.
It is true because the sign doesn't say for sale.
Because the sign doesn't say for sale, right? And so he was like, do you think people are going to know that my house is for sale? And I was like, yes, sir. Like, I think they're going to know your house is for sale. Like, we're in good hands.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of how I got here. And I love it. Like, I'm such a Compass fan.
Yeah. I'm super happy here at the brokerage too.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. I don't recall the event though. It might have actually been like a Tom Ferry event.
We met at Tom Ferry.
Something. Yeah. So we were not doing a Compass thing per se.
Yeah.
So you grew up in West Texas and then moved to Houston. Mm-hmm. Were you doing real estate in Houston too?
Yeah. So I actually got my license in probably like 2007.
Okay.
And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I actually got my degree in hospitality management. So
no way. That's mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww.
Well, hotel administration.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wow,
so
that's crazy.
I think that's just, I don't know. I love the hospitality background and how that translates into real estate. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's just such a beautiful combination. You know, I think that we like know how to take care of people. Like, we know how to serve people. And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. You know, we're serving people. Yeah. And so
it's very personalized service too, which good hospitality is.
Yes, totally. And I always say, you know, we're a little unique in that we are always on the front lines of things that sometimes aren't great. You know, sometimes it is exciting that you're moving because you're getting married or you're upsizing or whatever. But sometimes we're on the front lines of, you know, death and divorce and things that aren't great. And so I think just knowing like truly like how to care for people and how to like prepare your heart when you're walking into those meetings and just things that you learn, you know, in that industry, like just to leave your feelings at the door to go in and take care of whatever you're about to
this is about
face.
The client.
Yeah, I think that just that background and that, you know, knowledge just, I think, really translates beautifully into our to our businesses.
Yeah, that's so cool. So we had Robert on the podcast, Robert Refkin, and he recommended a book called, it's a yellow book. I can't think of the name.
It's one of my favorite books, and it's Unreasonable Hospitality.
That's right. I was going to say Unshakable.
Absolutely.
Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yes.
I haven't finished it yet. I constantly buy new books and stack them up to read.
I'm also guilty of that, but I love that book.
Yeah, it's a great book. What's funny is it was written by a guy that I went to school with, who I didn't realize.
Will Guidaro.
Yeah, I did not realize I went to school with him. But then I was reading a story in the book, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, I know these people and these professors. And then I was like, oh, he was a senior and I was a freshman. I was like, that's crazy.
So cool.
Yeah, he wouldn't know me, but
I have mad respect for him.
Yeah.
He's really like, he gets it.
Right.
You know?
So I'm looking forward to reading that book and thinking about hospitality and just service. Mm-hmm. There was a quote on the wall at that school that said, life is service. Who succeeds provides a little better service.
100%.
And that's probably cool it's good for all industries, but especially this one.
Especially us. Yeah.
I mean, people make the assumption people are just going out and buying houses for fun.
Right.
And I'm like, really, something in their life is happening.
Something's happening.
You know, or it's about to happen. You know, like we're about to get married, or we're about to have a kid, or death or divorce, or
a new job.
Kids, something's changing with your kids. Like, they don't just wake up one day, let's buy a house. Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it definitely it typically accompanies a life change.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you had your degree in hospitality management.
I did.
Did you use it at all in like
I did,
the hospitality industry?
So I went to work for Wyndham Hotels out of college.
Okay.
And worked there for a while, and then I ended up staying home once I became pregnant with our first daughter. I ended up staying home, and I did stay home for several years. And my husband I always say I'm married to my favorite mortgage banker because he's in the mortgage industry. Yeah. And so it's funny because when we get those calls, right? You get those calls all the time. Yeah. And I'm always like, hey, listen, like, let me just save you some time. Like, seriously, like, get off the phone with me and like call somebody else. Yeah. Because I literally am like married to my favorite banker. So
Yeah,
I'm not your
literally
girl.
when you say the call for our audience, like I literally have a voicemail I got just before this, and I was reading it, and I was like, "Oh, mortgage officer."
Of course you do. Yeah, which I totally respect. I'm
yeah,
like,
I mean, they have to get business.
We live that life. Yeah, I
like
respect
you said,
that.
there's only one referral partner for.
There's only one for
your
me.
Life partner.
Yeah, there's only one for me. So anyway, the mortgage business, as you know, was not going great at that time. And so we had been doing some just like investing. We were flipping some lots on the lake that we lived on and doing some like spec homes with one of the builders in our area. And so I'd gotten my license really just to kind of do our family business, not to actually use as a career. You know what I mean?
Funny how life works out.
Yes. The Lord definitely had other plans. But we, once, everything basically, hell in a handbasket in the mortgage industry. It was like, okay, like, no, now I actually I need a job. Like I need some income and I need to like put this to use. So that's what kind of catapulted me into an actual career with real estate. It was certainly, out of a time of need.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I'm so grateful that I love my career. Like I love what I do.
I can tell that.
I do. And certainly with, our youngest just left for college this year. So certainly being empty nesters, I'm like, gosh, I'm so grateful that I have this career that I love and I have something that I can pour myself into.
Because otherwise, it's like an identity crisis.
It would be really hard right now if I didn't have this.
Have your goals changed since the kids left the house?
I think my goals always change. I feel like I'm always evolving and growing,
That's good.
But yeah, so I got my broker's license probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I remember somebody asking me at the time, like, what are you going to do with that? And I was like, nothing. Like I
just want to have it.
I got it because one of my mentors in the business was like, I really think you should do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I didn't have any plans past that. But people would always be like, are you gonna open your own brokerage? Are you gonna start a team? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. I have like no intentions. But a few years ago, my coach said to me, I think that you're just like at this season and this like time in your career, you should start a team. And I was like, oh, like that wasn't really on my radar, but okay, like, yeah, let's do it. So, so I did. So that's kind of how my team was born. And I think, I did it just because my coach was like, I think this is a good fit for you. And that's just kind of, the season that your career is in. But what I didn't know is I think what I would receive in return just in terms of like the relationships and like what I get out of it and how great it feels to, mentor a young agent and like hold their hand and teach them how to be successful in this business. So I feel like, yes, my goals are changing as I am, kind of maturing in this team situation. I think my goals are always changing.
Yeah. And that was something I wanted to ask you about was your team. Tell me about what your team looks like.
So we have 4 agents plus myself, and then an admin. Okay. So someone that is kind of handling things on the back end, and then the 4 agents. So
and you're branded as the Tiffany Smith team.
We're the Tiffany Smith team.
You have a great website.
And thank you. We I feel like we have a pretty vast range in terms of like experience and even like seasons of life. Like we're kind of a beautiful mix and all learn from each other. And it's like this little family that I've created. I love it. Yeah,
that is. So, I'm on the team path too. I think I'm probably a little behind you in terms of, we're all learning together on this and it's been a fun journey. I like our team too. There's like it's nice to be able to collaborate. Yes. With this on the same clients together. Yes. Because I feel like real estate's a lonely business.
It definitely can be. Yes. Yeah. It definitely can be. Yeah. So having that sounding board or someone that you can sit down and, have the same goal and work together to achieve it.
So what do you look for when you're hiring for your team?
So I think, there's a lot of things I look for, but I think the first one I would say is just personality and honestly just like a heart to serve. Like at the end of the day, I'm like, if you don't have that, like if you're not here to take care of people, and to to put them first, then it's not going to work. So I think that is the first thing that I look for. And then past that, just grit. Like, this business is hard.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean,
it can be a beat down.
It is an absolute beat down sometimes. I mean, sometimes you work for, weeks or months or years and never get paid on a deal, I mean, it's like,
it falls apart
it's
at the
not,
last minute.
It's not for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
And so I think looking for people that have grit to, like, be successful in this business.
Yeah.
And then, it goes from there, but I would say those are the first two things that I'm really looking for.
So
when I interview
servant's
someone,
heart and then the grit.
And just having the grit to make it.
Yeah. It's tricky. And so how do you, I mean, we talked about the ups and downs of real estate. Like, the market can really affect your life and beyond, there's things we just can't control. Interest rates, housing crisis, like, world events. And not that we're at the whim of the market, because we can still be successful regardless of the market, but how do you keep your team motivated in times of uncertainty?
I would say that motivation is sometimes hard. Like, that's sometimes a big challenge for us. But I think at the end of the day, like, just being real with them about where we're at and, like, the steps that we're taking to try and climb out. And just, like, continuing to cheer each other on, this is not good. Like, this sucks right now, like, it's not good. And I wish we were all, more successful than we are in this moment. But we will be again. I've lived through a few cycles now.
Yeah, because you said, I think 2007. So I'm thinking, 17 years in the business.
Yeah, I've lived through a few cycles.
I've seen now.
And I know, like, it comes back. But you have to be diligent, and you have to keep doing all the things, and you have to just, keep your head up and keep going. And so I think just, just that continual, like, reminder of, like, it's going to get better. Like, better days are coming. They are coming. And we're just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And this is what we're doing.
Just reorienting people.
We have something called a 100-point week. And it's basically, like, just a checklist of different activities. And so I'm like, the expectation is that every week you're going to come to our team meeting with 100 points. And it doesn't always happen, admittedly. But at least we're trying. And so I think that, just going, okay, here's what we're doing. This is the plan, work the plan, and eventually it's going to turn into business.
Yeah. And things always work out. That's the belief
I
have.
They do.
But sometimes in the moment, it's like, okay.
Uncomfortable.
And it's nice too when you can be on a team where people remind you of that.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's important. And I think that's, goes back to kind of the things that I look for in the very beginning with a team member.
Yeah, like you said, grit.
Are they gonna? Yeah. Are they a fit for us and what we're trying to accomplish?
How do you suss that out of them when you're doing that recruiting dating game?
I mean,
because I feel like that's an important characteristic, but I don't know how. It's not on a personality test, that's for sure.
I think that just learning about people and kind of where they've been and what they've done, you can start picking up on cues. There's a trail, right?
Yeah.
Success leaves a trail.
That's very true.
And so I think that, and then I love this. So my coach told me one time, because we were talking about interviewing, and he said, here's the number one thing you need to think about when you're interviewing somebody. Could I sit next to them on a 6-hour plane ride?
Yeah.
I mean, could I?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, first of all, like, well, I don't know how many people I know that I want to sit next to on a 6-hour plane ride. That's another story. But
I don't want to go on a 6-hour plane ride.
Right. No, me neither. But it was such a good, just like, kind of mindset of like, okay, like, this is what I'm looking for. And that, that's just something that I always kind of think of in the back of my head.
Yeah, that is a good way to think about it. Yeah, would I sit with this person on a 6-hour plane ride? Maybe. Right.
It depends on where we're going. Right.
How motivated.
Yeah.
Is this a 6-hour plane ride somewhere I didn't want to go to begin with?
Exactly.
Not all trips are for fun. Yeah. So what advice would you give to somebody just starting out in real estate?
Join a team.
Join a team. Okay.
Yeah. I think that there's just, they always say you don't know what you don't know. And I think if you're out there on your own trying to figure it out, it takes so much longer and it's so much harder.
Yeah.
And so I think my number one piece of advice is get on a team, find a team lead that you connect with, that you feel comfortable with, that is going to be available for you. And you're going to gain insight and knowledge and learn about tools and things that, you never would have on your own. Just because, this is, we've lived a lot of life in real estate and have a lot of experience, and there's nothing that replaces that. And so I think just aligning yourself with someone who has that is huge.
Yeah. And when you're looking for a team, you talked about like pick a team leader that you resonate with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I've always thought, even my career before real estate, it's like the relationship with your boss is like so critical. Like if you don't like your boss,
yeah, it's miserable.
It's totally miserable.
And you're not going to be successful in this business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to have somebody that you respect and that you like, and that is, easy to work with.
Yeah. It's kind of a cheerleader for you too.
For sure.
In between episodes, stay up to date on all things home and lifestyle with my weekly newsletter, Into the Weekend with Matt, where I share the latest real estate updates, new videos from our team, and advice for both buyers and sellers alike. To sign up, go to hastingsre.com/ITW. That's HAISTINGSRE.com/ITW. For our audience too, like we talk about teams because we're agents in the industry, but teams are basically businesses inside of the brokerage, right? Like you're a business owner.
Yeah.
And one of the things like Robert talks about is real estate agents are entrepreneurs. Like I think it's easy to think, oh, they're just a salesperson, but then the successful ones are running an entire business. And we talked before the show about building a brand and doing all these things that are actual business things. And that's I think a blind spot a lot of agents have, and why they should join a team, like you said. Because they're basically joining a business versus just kind of being out there floundering on their own for months or years.
We wear a lot of hats, right?
Yeah.
And we are business owners. As business owners, we wear a lot of hats. And so I think, to effectively do that, it takes a pretty well-oiled machine. So certainly trying to, start over with not a lot of knowledge is very difficult.
What's your favorite hat to wear in this industry?
That's a good question. So I love design.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny because I know, I won't name any, but I know there are a lot of agents out there, especially when they go like to new builds and, someone wants a contract on new construction. They like drop them off with the sales consultant. They're like, all right, I'll see you at closing. I'll see you in 8 months or 18 months.
Don't care for that. I'm like, you're not doing your client any favors.
But I actually love that process.
I could see that.
I do. I love it. I love design. I love to go and like pick all the things. So I would say that's probably my favorite thing about this job, is just being able to like bring those ideas to life. I just started a project last week that is a new build out in Salina. And my client sent me her Pinterest board with all her ideas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so fun. Like we just get to create this from scratch, and we're going to bring her dreams to life. And I get to, come along and have a little input. And I love that. Yeah.
Our last guest owns a remodeling company. And so his is like the same thing. Like, how do you take your vision, especially like changing the house? It's kind of cool to think about. What about least favorite hat?
Accounting, numbers, payroll, I'm not a numbers person. I honestly, my husband takes care of most of that for me.
Well, that's nice.
I'm like, I don't like it. I don't want to think about it. I want to be with my clients and I want to sell real estate.
Yeah.
I do not want to mess with the numbers.
Well, it's also when you build a team. So, and you have a partner who can help. And
I hate that piece.
Yeah, I know. Well, I do a lot of online leads, and that's all about a numbers game too, but tracking it, can get
all the spreadsheets.
Cumbersome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll nerd out on spreadsheets. Don't get me wrong. I'm a nerd that way.
Yeah.
But it's like, what number do you even look for sometimes?
Exactly. Yeah. What's good?
Yeah. That's part of the learning journey, I think, for sure. So thinking about your business, how do you want to grow it over the next year or 2 years? Like, what are your plans? Yeah.
So I think just continuing to really pour into the team members that I have and just, kind of bringing them along to be, even more successful than they are now. And then I'll probably add a few more team members over the next 2 years. I'll probably bring on maybe another 2 or 3 team members. And so I'm not looking to just, bring people on for the sake of bringing people on. So I think kind of a slow grow with the right people, and then just, continuing to work with the agents that I am fortunate to have right now.
There's a temptation, I think, in this industry where people hire a bunch of agents so they have this photo with a bunch of agents.
Right.
But I want each agent on my team, and it sounds like you too, like want each agent to be productive. Like I want them to be successful and proud of the work they're doing, which more often means slow growth, I think.
Yeah. And then they're happy, right? And they feel good about themselves.
And then they become recruiters also for the team.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they have a good experience. Yeah. I think, I agree with you. It's just, it's hard to, I don't know how to say this, but it's sometimes you find that things aren't a fit and you're like,
learn that lesson.
Yeah. It is what it is. And sometimes you have to cut your losses and move on. But I think finding the right people for the journey is so important.
Yeah. Well, that's a life lesson, I'm sure, too, just who we're on the journey with. Yeah. So thinking more broadly about entrepreneurship and leadership, how do you foster that collaborative environment? Because it sounds like you have it. So like, how have you been fostering that on your team?
I try to so I have a coach that I meet with every week.
Nice.
And then I try to just take whatever we're focusing on or whatever we're working on. I try to bring that back to my team and kind of feed them, in bite size what I'm working on with him. And so I think that's a big piece of it. I also, like you, have 42 million books on my nightstand, which I'm always just like grabbing nuggets and like, learning and improving myself. And then I just, always try to like relay that or bring that back to my team.
That's nice. And like you said, everybody gets along, so conversations are probably light and easy.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of laughs.
We always start our meeting. We have the same structure, the same agenda for every meeting. And we always start our meeting with going around the table and saying either something good that is happening for you that week, either personally or in business. Okay. So it can be either one. So so tell me something good, like what's going on, what can you tell me? And then at the end, we go around the table again and do gratitude. So everybody has to say one thing that they're thankful for. And what I've learned is that, it helps us all connect on a personal level. You figure out what's going on in everybody's life since you've been together last.
Yep.
And then also just ending with gratitude, I think really just, puts your heart and mind in the right place. And so I would say that's kind of a big piece of how, why we're who we are.
Right. Yeah, I like that. It's positive on both ends. I think I might steal one of those ideas.
The Oreo, the Oreo method.
The compliment sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
But kind of, right? But Oreo, I say compliment sandwich, but the Oreos are good. Like, all of it's good.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. It's just what you start and what you finish with,
Okay, I like that. Yeah. Like, part of being an entrepreneur is facing setbacks. Like, what's a challenge you've overcome?
There's a lot of them, Matt. There's a lot of them.
What's the more memorable one?
Yeah. So I would say on a personal note, and I know you asked me about entrepreneurship, but I think they intertwine. On a personal note, living through 2008 and 2009 was terrible.
Okay.
And I always say, once in a lifetime was enough for that experience because it was awful.
Well, your whole family, it sounds like your husband was in mortgages and you starting real estate.
Yeah, we were
challenges in both
the thick of it. We owned a mortgage company, and did what we could to keep the doors open for as long as we could. But it was brutal. It was not fun. And so I think just that season of life taught us so much about appreciating the good times, but don't get crazy, right?
Yeah.
Don't get crazy because the dip is coming. So I think just learning how to just have grit and stick-to-itiveness and navigate those days that are really dark. Because that was a very miserable time in our life and financially. Yeah. I mean, we had 2 beautiful little girls and on a personal note, things were great, but financially it was a terrible time.
Isn't that funny how life can be things could be a mess over here, but beautiful.
But beautiful,
over here.
yeah, at the same time.
I feel like that's a lesson.
Beautifully broken, you know, all at the same time.
Yeah, it's like one of my themes recently is like, how do I feel happy regardless of what's going on external?
Yes.
Like even if things are going great external, like how do I not depend on that? Because that thing could just fizz out.
It could change in a second.
Yeah. So like squeeze all the juice out of it, but don't be upset when it feels different.
Yeah, I think figuring out where your joy comes from is really important.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's probably my life's work, but especially lately, it's been on my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think just navigating that season of our life really taught me a lot about entrepreneurship and what it takes, and sometimes it's just freaking hard, you know. At the end of the day,
just getting up and doing
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have always kind of had coaches or people around that could help kind of give you some guideposts. Like, these are the best practices. And you said, you're reading. Yeah, mentors or coaches. I've really been blessed in my career to have people around me that I loved and respected that, you know, really, I think spoke a lot of wisdom into my life. And so I think surrounding yourself with those people, which again kind of circles back to a new agent, like trying to figure out this business and getting on a team, like you've got to have somebody that is, you know, has been there and can speak to your situation, you know? So I would say, I think that's super important. That's something that I've always tried to do. Like this, I like how you said stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
Keep, wake up and do it again.
Yes. That's what I always tell my girls about college. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, college, you remember it as fun.
Yeah.
But there are moments that were not great.
I'm like, does anybody care about the degree that you got? Like, a lot of times, no. Yeah. But it shows that you had the stick-to-itiveness to do the thing, you know. Yeah,
and the character building aspects of it.
For sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I went back to my alma mater for grad school, and I remembered the high points.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, I forgot how cold and miserable this place is. How could I ever forget this? But
that's the way we're wired. It's like you remember the good times, which is great,
which
right?
is good for all of us, and hopefully the lessons resonate with us, and we have the fortitude to do it again.
Yeah.
At some point in your business, you started focusing on your brand, and can you talk to me a little bit about how you've chose to invest in that?
So I think really when I kind of mentioned earlier that I was looking to kind of rebrand myself at my old brokerage. And then when I came to Compass and had a marketing advisor, that was kind of a pivotal moment for me in going, okay, like what is my brand and what do I want? How do I want that to feel? What do I want it to look like? Like, you know, and so I think I really started taking a deep dive into that and just kind of recreating that. And, it's been good. You know, I think I've had my logo now for 5 years. So I'm actually probably going to be, I'm probably going to rebrand at the end of the year. But I think, you know, it's just, I don't know. I have put a lot of time and effort and money, quite frankly, into building a brand with video and, you know, social media and all those things. But at the end of the day, I think the most important piece is just who we are, you know, how you carry yourself.
You can't get past that.
You cannot get past that. That's absolutely your brand, you know.
That's a great point. Yeah. But I do have noticed that about your business is you have a brand to me that's very cohesive. And I obviously I've not been your client. I guess in some ways I'm your competitor.
And you probably never will be.
But I imagine people, what they see is what they get. And it's cohesive across like different channels, like your website and your Instagram. Like they kind of get a feel for that.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool.
I've had Mallard,
the agency.
Yes,
branding
agency.
I've
had them kind of guiding me over probably the past almost 3 years now.
Okay,
and they've created all my video and like all of those good things.
Yeah,
and so having Sean and the team on Mallard kind of just help me navigate that has been super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of business that's just not something you think about. But my hypothesis is you get business because of your brand now.
Yes.
Like people that don't know you.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely
with you
do.
And your brand.
I definitely do.
And that's very powerful.
Get people, you know, just DMing on Instagram and that kind of thing. But I always tell, you know, I think people are so scared to just be themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, it's so true. Like your vibe attracts your tribe. Like just be you. You don't have to be anything special or different.
And
like
you'll have clients you love.
You do you, and you're going to have clients that you absolutely love, that you know, that you get along with and work well with. And so, yeah, I think it's important just to show up in that way.
Yeah, that's great advice. If you were starting your business again today, what's something you would do differently?
Wow. You know, the business is so different than when I started.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, our business has evolved so much, right? I mean, real estate has changed so much in the last, you know, call it 17 years. So what would I do different? I feel like I would do everything different.
Okay.
But I think just like joining a team, and because I actually have never been on a team.
Okay.
So I think just joining a team and kind of fast tracking yourself to success. Yeah. I definitely would do that. I was a single agent. I always have been until I started a team. Yeah. And so I think that would be, I definitely think that I would join a team.
Would you join it? So you would join a team, and then do you imagine you would launch your own team? Or kind of build your brand on a team?
I think it just depends on the situation and like season of life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I think it just depends on what else you have going. But I think just, you know, joining a team and then just showing up. Like I always tell my girls, if you're new and you don't have business, there's two things. There's open houses and there's social media. Yeah. Period.
Or if you got a credit card, you can buy leads, but that's kind of a risk if you don't know how to convert them.
I don't recommend it. Yeah. Like I don't recommend it. I'm like open houses and social media. Yeah. Like, and it's free. Like guys, this is free.
Well, I've had some great people that I've met at open house. I hadn't done open houses in a while. You know, as you get more experience in the business, there's kind of like, you know, I don't want to get my Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon.
I know. I still do open houses.
And then I was like, you know, I think I want to do more open houses. And I've met some wonderful people. And, you know, a lot of agents are like, I'm going to get all these leads. And I'm like, I just want to connect with people at the open houses. And inevitably I'll meet one or two people that like will want to work together or just have a new relationship that other possibilities come from. Totally. And it's been a lot more fun. And those are different opportunities than the ones you paid for, basically.
They are. Well, I think that the hard part about paid leads is they didn't come to you because they already like love you and trust you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think it's hard sometimes to gain trust with those people because they don't know you. Right. I love to tell this story. I picked up a client one time at an open house, but they were actually, they did not speak to me. There were a ton of people in there, and I was talking to somebody else about the school district and Prosper ISD and just my daughter's experience there and how it had gone for our family. And and I didn't get to speak with them. They walked through the whole house and they were getting ready to leave. And the guy walked over to me and he said, "Hey, would you be our agent?" And I was like,
"Who are you?"
Like me? Like, yes. Like I've never met you before. Hello, you know, hi. And so I just was like, yeah, like what's going on? Like, tell me who you are. What's the deal? And he said, I overheard you talking to them about the school district, and I can tell you know what you're talking about, and I can tell that you've been in Prosper a long time, and you know the area really well, and we want you to work for us. And I was like, done. Okay, so I think sometimes it's that kind of stuff, you know, that it just gives you connections. It just gives you the opportunity to be with people. So, yeah.
Well, the other thing about, I think, open houses that are great for the new agent is it's a low threat way to talk with people about real estate. Yes. Like, totally. You can have just conversations and you can talk about real estate and, you know, they came to you. Like it wasn't, you know, it's not stressful. It doesn't have to be stressful, at least.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah. And I always tell my team, like, we want this to feel like a party. Like you want somebody to feel like they're walking in to a house that's like laid back and fun. And like, we're so glad you're here. And like, I'm not going to ask you the minute you open the door.
Sorry,
do you have an agent? Like, do you have an agent? I'm like, we actually don't say, do you have an agent?
Of course.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know, like, let's talk to their kids. Like, let's figure out, you know, what's going on in their life, like where are they coming from?
Right.
You
Let's
know,
just
it's
have
like
fun and be human.
let's have fun,
Yeah.
And sometimes I actually do Friday night open houses, like happy hour.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
And that has been awesome because it's like everybody, you know, we're pouring champagne and having fun, and we've got, you know, music on, and it's just like it's a totally different atmosphere than, you know, the Sunday 2 to 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
well, it's funny in the fall in Texas, I'm like, you know, it's like a lose-lose. Like you're either Saturday competing with college football or Sunday competing with the Cowboys.
Yeah. Totally. Yes. I always, my husband is a huge Cowboys fan.
Okay.
So 100% always check with him on the Cowboys schedule before we schedule any open houses.
Yeah. My assistant's part of her checklist. She'll just be, she'll be like, the Cowboys are playing from this time to this time. Okay. Well,
you're like, yes.
Have to
plan
do it
accordingly.
At noon then.
Yes. Plan accordingly.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So you had mentioned briefly Prosper. You were talking about, how did you guys pick Prosper? Because I think you've lived there a while.
Yeah. So we had narrowed it down to, when we were moving back to the area, we had narrowed it down to Prosper and then the Lovejoy ISD.
Okay.
So that area, Fairview. And
both were kind of rural at the time, though.
They were both rural at the time, but we both grew up in West Texas and we loved that small town feel. So I was looking for something that had a small town feel and a great school district.
Okay.
So we narrowed it down to basically to Lovejoy ISD and Prosper ISD, and we were very open to both. It was so funny because my husband had been coming in town to meet with clients, which is really why we moved back to the area, is because one of his big clients at the time was here and based in Carrollton.
Okay.
And so he had been, you know, kind of driving around while he was here by himself. And he called me and he said, I just saw the Prosperous City Limit sign and they were football state champs. He's like, he's such a football guy. And he was like, we're home. Like we found home. So anyway, that's not actually how we decided, but
which
really.
Is funny because you have two girls. So,
I know,
so they weren't going to play football.
They weren't. No, but hey, we have a cheerleader.
Cheerleaders.
We have a cheerleader.
Yeah, there you go.
But we really, like, to just be totally honest with you, it was a situation where there was very little inventory at the time. And we just found a house that we liked, and we were good with either community.
Okay.
We found a house there that we really liked and went for it.
And you were going to kind of reboot your business up here in either way, so it didn't.
Yeah. So I was actually working with a relocation company at the time. They had an in-house broker.
Okay.
And they had clients. I was doing a lot of oil and gas execs moving in and out of Houston.
Oh, wow.
But they had also had clients up in Dallas. And so I asked them, like, can I continue working with you if I move up to Dallas? And they were like, yes, of course. So I actually one summer worked both markets, which I do not recommend.
Dallas and
it
Houston.
was really, it was
driving.
Wild. Yeah, it was, I don't recommend it. Bad for your health. But anyway, so I transitioned from Houston to Dallas.
Okay.
And it was awesome.
That's cool. And then you raised your girls there.
We did. Yeah. We've raised our girls there. They were first and fourth grade when we moved to Prosper. So they really did. They grew up there.
Yeah.
And what a sweet life and like great community to be in.
Prosper's a lot bigger now.
It's changed so much. Yeah.
But it's still not huge.
So much.
What's your favorite restaurant in Prosper?
That's a loaded question because there's not a lot of restaurants in Prosper.
Yeah, I know.
I would have to say
but
right
there
now.
Are places.
Yeah.
Or do you there's a barbecue place in Salina, isn't there?
Tender is really good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All the stars for Tender. Like they're really good. I would say most often we go up to Gentle Creek to the club there because they have a really nice restaurant. So if we're going to go out to eat in Prosper, that's probably where we're going to go.
Okay.
But yeah, we're definitely lacking on the restaurant scene. Room for improvement.
Yeah. But I mean, community-wise, there's a few.
Yeah.
But they'll be there soon. That's
it's coming.
I feel it coming.
It's coming. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is everything coming to the PGA district is not going to be far from us at all either.
No, it's super close.
Yeah. So that'll definitely change
in some ways it's functionally
things.
Prosper, in my mind.
Agreed.
Because you're just across the street from Prosper.
Agreed. Yes.
Frisco Schools.
So we're excited.
Probably,
we're excited about that.
I mean, it's already a pretty cool development.
Mm-hmm. It is.
We're going to explore that soon on video, I think. On a YouTube video.
Fun. I had a lady call me from homes.com to do an interview last week. And we were talking about Salina, Prosper and Salina, and just like, the growth there and just how I've seen it change over the years.
Yeah.
And she said, she asked me, she said, how do you feel about that? And I said, it's bittersweet, like for sure. It's definitely bittersweet. You know, it's exciting, but also it's a little sad just to lose the farmland and just that small town feel, you know, that we always had.
That's a great choice of words.
Yeah.
I even think, I live in Plano, but I even think about areas here where you're like got used to driving by the open field with the cows. And now it's under construction. It's like, you know, it's going to be a beautiful development, but I like to think the cows.
More concrete. Yeah.
That's city living.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you about real estate? You sold your house recently.
Yes.
Your own house.
Yeah,
what was that like?
That was
being your own customer.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of wild. It was good though. Like it went well. It was kind of doing my own open houses was interesting, you know, but I totally,
so awkward.
But I totally just told people as soon as they came in, I'm like,
this is
welcome.
My house.
Like, welcome. This is my house. Like,
wow.
Is what it is.
It is funny.
Yeah, it was. I know. I actually sat at a dinner with Keith Newman, and not long after that, and I think Robert was in town, and we were at dinner together. We were sitting across the table from each other, and I said something to Keith about it, and he was like, "I know." Like he was.
He's done the same thing.
No, he was like basically like, "I know. I can't believe you're doing that," and I was like, "I know, but I am, and it's fine." So.
You didn't even want someone from your team to do it. You're just happy to do it.
I was. Yeah.
And then you guys stayed in Prosper, right?
We technically have a Salina address, but I still claim Prosper.
Yeah, I sold a
Prosper
house
ISD
recently. That was the same thing. And she's like, I thought this house was in Prosper, but the city's telling me it's in Salina. And I was like, well, it is Prosper Schools. Like it's literally like
it's Prosper Schools.
Yeah,
we claim Prosper, but technically a Salina address now.
Yeah, that's okay. Salina's nice too.
It's all good.
A little more farmland.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now you mentioned working with a business coach, and I wanted to ask you about that. What advice have they given you that's been really impactful for your business?
I think sometimes just getting very like tactical and like, you know, just do this, you know, like literally here's the formula, do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I can do that. It's just like the 100-point week that I give my team. I'm like, you want to grow your business? Do this. Like it works. I don't care how you do it. I don't care where you get your points from. Just do it. Earn your points and you're going to generate business. And so I think, you know, one of the biggest points of value with a coach is just having someone that's done it. And my coach in particular has a ton of data and has done a ton of research over the past few years with like hundreds of agents. And so he's really kind of dialed in what works and what that roadmap looks like. And so, when I tell you it's really like as granular as like, you should have this many Zillow reviews right now if this is the level of income that you're looking for. Like it's very specific. Yeah. And so I think having someone that just is like, these are the things that you need to do. These are the action steps you need to take. This is exactly how you need to do it. Yeah. And like, oh, you need a contract because you just hired a new admin. Here it is. Like that kind of stuff I think is huge. Yeah. But also I think someone that just appreciates, knows you and understands you and can kind of, you know, speak wisdom into your business and understands kind of who you are. I think that's also really valuable. Yeah. Because sometimes I feel, you know, kind of just lost in the shuffle and and just we have so many things that we're doing. Sometimes we're just trying to get from appointment to appointment and like check the boxes. And so to have someone that really understands your business and has kind of a bird's eye view to go, hey, like you need to like, you know, you need to pull it back. You need to come over here. You need to do this. I think that is really valuable. Yeah. I mean, a traditional or even bigger businesses use consultants, right? Which is kind of the same thing we're getting. It is, in real estate. This is what amazed me when I haven't been in the business. I've been half the time as you, I think. But it just amazed me. It's so free for all. Yes. And I had been in the military, which was obviously very structured, but also as an officer, there was like a strong mentorship model too. Like we're teaching the next generation of officers. And then I was a consultant, which was, they called it like same kind of thing. You're lunching, you're having dinners on the projects. You're like getting mentorship constantly and developed. And then I came into real estate and it was like, oh, nobody's willing to invest the time. People will, but usually you're on their team to get that. Yes. Or sometimes you'll get a great broker who will make the space to like coach you. But
So that's why I was like, I've always
It's
believed in
hard.
real estate coaching.
Yeah.
And just having a coach in life, because otherwise.
Yeah, just having some guidance. Yes. Yeah. Not constantly. I think in this business, it's real easy to constantly chase the shiny object because there's always something new, right? There's always like, the algorithms are changing, the this, the that, like there's always a new idea. And I think just like learning that you don't have to chase every shiny object, you just have to do a few things really well. I think that's such a valuable lesson in this industry because yes, I agree. And there's a million ways to do this business too, right?
Well, that's the thing. There's no, like Zillow, of course, they're in the business of selling leads. There's no wrong way to generate a lead. Yeah. There's opportunities everywhere. I
was in the Dallas office one time. This was several years ago, but Robert was in town speaking, and so everybody was there for an all agent meeting. And I was standing in line for coffee behind this lady, and she was upset because they had scheduled this meeting with Robert during the MLS tour. And she was like, really? I mean, she was like very upset about it. She was like, I can't believe they scheduled that meeting. I can't believe they scheduled this meeting the same time as the MLS tour. And in my mind, I was thinking, I haven't been on an MLS tour in like a decade. Like, I don't go on MLS tours. I mean, they don't really exist out in our
they don't.
In our
For our
town.
audience, what's an MLS tour?
So MLS tour is when all the new listings that come to market are held open for agents to go and preview them. Yes. So I was thinking, I really haven't done that in like a decade.
I feel like that happens in the small, like really cliquish locations.
Agreed.
In a way.
Well, and just geographically, we're so challenged because we're so spread out.
Like Collin County.
Yes.
I mean,
it's so different than being like in Highland Park, right?
Yeah. Like,
and so
just imagine if you're like, I'm going to do an MLS tour for Collin County.
For Collin County, I'm like, we need a week.
I'm leaving on Tuesday. I'll be back Friday.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, definitely bring provisions and an overnight bag. So I think, but what that reminded me of that day was just like, there's so many ways to do this business and none of them are right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, we have a tradition on the podcast where the last guest gets to ask a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So the question for you was, what do you do on your worst days?
So I think for me, really, my faith plays a huge part.
Okay.
In getting through tough times or bad days. Yeah. And I think, just reminding yourself that no matter what happens, like at the end of the day, we're good. Like the sun is going to come up tomorrow. Like it's going to be fine. And also we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I think just knowing like where your joy comes from, like it cannot be in the highs and lows of the day to day. Like it just, that's a sure way to fail. Right. Yeah. And so I think just, making sure that you're, like I said, like heart check, mind check, make sure that you remember kind of the goals and why we're doing what we're doing. And I think just, knowing where your joy comes from.
Oh, that's great. So if our audience wants to connect with you, what's the best way?
Oh, Instagram, please.
Okay, great.
Instagram, always.
At Tiffany Smith?
No, it's actually Realtor Tiffany Smith.
Okay, at Realtor Tiffany Smith.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
This
Always
was
enjoy
so
our
fun.
chats. Yeah, I hope I'll see you again in person soon.
Yeah, well, I'll see you at the office.
I know, our new office.
Are you ready to take the next step in your home selling journey? Picture this: a seamless and stress-free home selling experience that puts you in control. At the Haistings Real Estate Group, we understand that selling your home is more than a transaction. It's a life-changing decision. That's why our team of dedicated experts is here to guide you every step of the way. We pride ourselves on selling real estate without the hassle. Learn more by visiting HastingsRE.com. That's HAISTINGSRE.com.